All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a fascinating and, let's be honest, pretty complex claim from our source material, the idea of a divinely authored numerical code woven into the very fabric of the Quran. Think about it. For centuries, you've had brilliant minds like the astronomer Johannes Kepler, who saw mathematics as this kind of divine language, the secret code that describes everything from the orbits of planets to the structure of a tiny atom. So that leads to this really big question, the one at the heart of what we're talking about today. What if that very same language of mathematics wasn't just described in an ancient holy book, but was actually the blueprint it was built on?
The source material we're looking at makes this incredibly bold claim, that the Quran is built on a mathematical structure so intricate, so complex, that it would be impossible for any human being to have created it. And the key to unlocking this whole thing, the author says, is hidden in a single verse.
And that key is the number 19. See, the source points us directly to Surah 74, verse 30 of the Quran, which says, "Over it is 19. The author presents this not as some kind of symbolic metaphor, but as a literal mathematical key. So how in the world does the author even begin to build this argument? Well, to really get what they're saying, we've got to get a handle on the basic tools they're using. So let's start with the building blocks. First up is something you probably remember from math class, the prime number. You can think of these as the fundamental atoms of the number world. They're integers you can't break down any further by division, other than by themselves in one. Okay, now this next idea is absolutely crucial to the author's whole system. It's called the primes index. And it's actually a pretty simple idea when you break it down. It's just the position, or the rank, that a prime number has in that long, endless line of all the prime numbers. So take a look at this table from the source. It shows you exactly how this works. Since 2 is the very first prime number, its index is 1. Since 5 is the third prime number, its index is 3. And here's the one that's really important for this theory. Notice that the 8th prime number in line is 19. I know, this probably feels super abstract, right? I mean, it's just numbers. So the big question is, how could these purely mathematical ideas, primes and their positions in a sequence, possibly connect to the words and verses of a book that's 1,400 years old? So let's dig into one of the author's first big examples to see exactly how they claim to build that bridge, how they connect the world of numbers to the physical text of the Quran. Okay. So the source lays out this multi-step calculation to argue that one chapter, Surah 9, is mathematically locked in to having exactly 127 verses. Here's their logic. Step 1, they count up all the verses from the very beginning of the Quran right up to verse 9127. That total is 1,362. Then, step 2, they introduce this thing they call the composite index. Now, this isn't some standard math term, it's a specific function the author themselves defined. They say for the number 1,362, this index is 1,143. And here's the final step, the payoff. 1,143 is exactly 9 times 127. It links the surah number 9 with its verse count 127. And this is the whole point the author is making. They're arguing this is absolutely not a coincidence. No, they present this as a built-in property of the text, something that's mathematically generated by the Quran's very structure.
And believe it or not, what we've just walked through, that's just scratching the surface. According to the source material, this whole system gets way more complex.
Yeah, the author's system goes way beyond just your basic primes. It pulls in all these other, much more specialized types of numbers. We see things like lonely primes, twin prime companions, even Gaussian primes. Now, you don't have to be a mathematician to get the point here. The idea is that each of these is just another intricate layer in this huge mathematical structure. And it gets even more complex. The author claims that some of these relationships are hidden, that you can only see them if you convert numbers between different counting systems, or bases. For instance, taking a number from our normal, everyday base 10 system and seeing how it's written in, say, a base 8 system. The argument is that this reveals patterns you'd otherwise never see. Okay, now we get to one of the most striking claims in the whole argument. This one uses a branch of higher math called group theory, which deals with symmetry and structure. Here, the author uses it on permutations, which is just the different ways you can shuffle around a set of numbers. This table from the source shows all 24 ways you can rearrange the digits 2, 3, 4, and 6. So if you look closely at this table, you go down to the 19th spot in the sequence, the 19th permutation, and what number do you find? 6,234. So what's so special about that number? Get this. According to the author, that number, 6,234, is the exact total number of numbered verses in the entire Quran. And this really gets to the heart of their argument, that this kind of deep connection, linking high-level math, the number 19, and a basic fact about the text itself is just impossible for any human to have designed.
So, you have to ask, why? I mean, what's the point of all this, according to the source? What's the ultimate purpose of this incredibly elaborate system? Let's take a look at the author's answer.
Well, the author takes us right back to Surah 74, but this time to verse 31, which they claim spells out the whole purpose. As you can see on this chart, they interpret the verse to mean that the code is there to do three things: to reassure people who already believe, to remove doubt from the minds of others, and to expose those who are faking it. And all of this, every prime number, every calculation, every permutation, it all builds up to the author's final, ultimate conclusion. And we're quoting directly from the source here, that the Quran is the literal embodiment of the ultimate mathematics and can only be authored by God.
So, when you boil it all down, the source is presenting this whole mathematical structure not just as some interesting quirk of the text, but as a real, verifiable, modern-day miracle, a proof of divine origin that anyone can check using the universal language of math.
So, what do we do with all this? Are we looking at a map of divine order, something written into the fabric of the text with the language of mathematics? Or is this a powerful testament to the human mind's incredible, maybe even unstoppable ability to find patterns, to seek out order in the world around us? That's the question this explainer leaves with.